This video will cover the scan and OCR tool and how to use it to improve the quality of our saved units that come from students who have taken photos, or maybe you've taken photos rather than scanning the pages, and maybe there's too much in the background and it's a high quality photo because they had a fancy smartphone, and so the image is huge, it's got extra information, and it might be at a weird angle with poor contrast. So there are certain things we can do with the scan and OCR tool to improve the quality a little bit. So here I have a sample unit. You can tell how huge these pages are if you look at how small and little the whiteboard is by contrast. So most of these are pretty legible, which is good, and it appears that the teacher has already cropped out most of the background. But in this image in particular, you can see there's still background there. You can see the bend of the page. So the text, is a little bit wonky. Not too bad. This particular unit, this would be acceptable. But this is just to demonstrate how we could improve this even further and how we could use it on a unit that maybe was way less legible than this. So in my shortcuts bar over here, I have Scan and OCR. I'm going to choose that. And then I'm going to click Enhance Camera Image. So it takes a minute to load, but you'll see there we go. Come back. It will select what it thinks the main part of the content is on the page with these 4 toggle points. You're going to want to adjust them to include a part of the page that you want. I would recommend not chopping off the headers and footers, and you want to keep the integrity of the page as much as possible. So once you have that selected, you're going to hit Enhance Page, and it's going to straighten the page a little bit and adjust the contrast. You can see it changed the contrast a lot on this image. So we went from that kind of gray, dark look to this black and white. So you can change the enhancement level up here. So if we don't want it quite that black and white, we could turn it back down. Sometimes if this is too high up, you lose some of the writing. So you're just going to want to play with that as you see the result. So if the student's writing is no longer readable, after you adjust the enhancement level, you want to move it so that it is still legible and the contrast is good. So you can see how it has adjusted for some of that bend in the page and straightened it out, and it's also improved the contrast so it doesn't look as dark and it's easier to read. I'm going to leave it probably about here and call that done. You do want to do this before you add grading marks. Right now in the example I'm doing it after, which has kind of obscured the grading marks because it doesn't really know how to process that. So once you finish the page and you have it how you like it, you can just scroll to the next page and it will automatically continue to do what you've been working on. So it'll pop up with the toggle points again, adjust them to your page. Also, I would not recommend using a sample page that only has one question. This is probably part of, a graded assignment, which is why it's so little content-wise. But normally, you would want a more full page for your graded work sample. So again, you mess with the toggle however you want it, and then you press Enhance Page. And it'll do the same thing. It'll adjust the contrast, all of that, and then you can save it from there. So this will really help with certain photos of units that aren't very legible or are too dark and you can't really quite tell what it says. You also have the Recognize Text option. So if it is really just a photo and for whatever reason you needed to edit something, one of the words, you wouldn't want to do that on student work, but for another document that you yourself are using, you can click Recognize Text and the technology will look for words on the page and change them into editable text boxes rather than this whole thing being a single image. So there's different options like that that you can do. Once you're done with the scan and OCR feature, you just hit close here. And then in worst case scenarios, if a student sends you something and everything is just a really huge image that's and it's too big of a file to upload, then what you're going to do under the Save As feature, you can click this checkbox to reduce the file size. And then when you save the unit, it will shrink it down and compress it. The one thing you do want to be careful of, though, when you use reduced file size, it really is a last resort, because if you open that document back up, sometimes it makes the quality severely diminished to the point where you can't read the writing anymore. This is an audit issue with QA, so we do need to make sure that saved units that we're uploading to Student Track are legible. So if any edit you make causes the student writing to be unreadable, you're going to want to undo that edit. You do not want to leave it in a state where we cannot read the student work. Thank you. That is all.